Good day once more, friends. It is difficult to present after Pastor Papu. You know what I'm talking about. It is even worse to present in front of my boss, the minister. So I need a double portion of prayer from you, friends. I'm going to be talking to you about striving for academic excellence in educational institutions. And my presentation outline is as follows. Excellence is good anywhere and everywhere. The concept of excellence in education, that's what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about historical perspectives on educational excellence. And I'm going to also talk about the importance of excellence in shaping the future. Drivers of excellence in education, contemporary challenges to excellence in education. Maybe as my launch pad, let me use Genesis 39 verses 20 to 23. You know the story. That is the story where Joseph is thrown in jail for refusing the advances of his boss's wife. In these verses, which I invite you to read at home, we find that Joseph, once trusty master, has now put him in jail after the master's wife falsely accuses him of attempted rape. Joseph has not only done nothing wrong, but he has also gone above and beyond to do everything right. That is the painful part. He has worked diligently for his master. He has adamantly rejected seduction from his master's wife. Joseph, friends, has acted with integrity and uprightness, which is excellence. However, he finds himself in jail. Now, further, many of us do our best in favorable circumstances, in circumstances that are going to reward our efforts. But what happens if we work in less than ideal, for a less than ideal boss? What do? Do you still try to excel even when you work for a less than ideal boss? Or a company that seems satisfied with mediocrity? Everybody is mediocre in this company. Are you as an individual going to strive for excellence? Or are you going to strive for excellence even if you are treated unjustly? Are we willing to pursue excellence when things aren't going our way? You know, when I came to this point, I was reminded about a chorus that we used to sing as little ones in my church in Welkom. This chorus did not gain traction, nationally. It came from the Eastern Cape. The song went something like, Nasemanzini abilayo. Nasemanzini abilayo, I will follow Jesus Christ. I'll remain faithful. Even in boiling water, you remain resolute to be faithful. That is excellence, like Joseph did in this instance, where he excels even when he has been thrown into prison when he has not done anything. Nasemanzini apilayo. Despite the unfair imprisonment, God had not abandoned Joseph, friends. He did not abandon him. This tells me that we should do what is right and God will take care of the rest. Do what is right and God will take care of the rest. When you stand for God, He joins you and is going to protect you. As we go on with the notion of being excellent in any situation, many will only do well when the circumstances favor us. When the situation is going to favor you, you then excel. But when it doesn't, you don't want to excel. Right? This thing does not want to move. Fundisi does what he did at Heidelberg the other day. Okay, let me try this. Ooh, okay, there it goes. I got it right this time, Fundisi. Joseph is an encouragement to all of us. To all of us who live in a less than perfect world. You know, that we should strive for excellence even in a less than perfect world. He was unjustly jailed because he spent the advances of his boss's wife. He soon became a warden assistant in prison, to the prison where he was sent. You become an assistant when you are supposed to be a prisoner because of your excellence, because of your faithfulness, because of staying the course. His proven ability was so strong that his keepers did not even bother to check his work in prison. They trusted him implicitly. Because of consistently striving for excellence. Joseph maintained such a pursuit of excellence by applying himself to the task at hand rather than focusing on how he had been framed. He didn't sulk and say, I've been framed, therefore I'm not going to do well in my duties in prison. As a slave, he probably had no means to appeal anyway. He could not appeal to anybody. So he turned his hardships of his life into opportunities for diligence and focus. God honored this attitude, friends, with achievements that would be considered amazing under any circumstances. Ultimately, Joseph, the minority slave, rose to power and status as the nation's second in command. He became a prime minister in a foreign land. Now, I need to ask you a question. So if you honor your God in your work and pursue an attitude of excellence, will God honor you with power and prestige? Is that a fact? I doubt, I'm not sure. There are no guarantees, friends. There are no guarantees. However, Scripture does make a promise. In Colossians 3 verse 23 to 24, it says, whatever you do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance. That is the only guarantee we have in the Bible. And that when you excel in difficult circumstances, you are going to be blessed. You can only rely on this verse. Right? God will reward you according to how you do your work. He challenges you this morning to excel. That was just my launching pad. Now, going to the educational concepts on excellence. Firstly, I want to borrow from the business, from the market forces. The notion of excellence in schools borrowed from market forces. Look at this. Serving the clients. You know who the clients are in the schools. Increasing productivity. Time on tasks in the classrooms where we have been entrusted with responsibilities. Resource management, how you manage resources, accountability to stakeholders, contributing to the national economy, and being responsive to the market forces. Now I'm talking business here, but I'm trying to apply the principles in business, in education. Simply put, excellence means consistent and outstanding performance, allowing students to reach their full potential. This has been said numerous times on this platform, including by the minister. In the context of education, quality and standards, excellence relates to the quality of teaching, students' capabilities, the scale of resource provision, and the level of student achievement. That is according to that scholar who has written there in 2016. Let us look at the historical perspectives of excellence in education. We are going to look at the epoch-making phases of our history. We are looking at here the ancient civilization. Ancient civilization, I'm talking here about ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt. where the early education systems were formalized. Excellence in that context was associated with mastering agriculture and craftsmanship. And then ancient Greece in that period valued holistic educational excellence. Excellence was the pursuit of knowledge and developing the mind and the body. You know, as Adventists, it's mind, body, and soul. Now, they were still focusing on only two at that time. Right, we go to the Roman Empire. Education in Rome was influenced by Greek traditions with an emphasis on oratory skills and civic education. Excellence was associated with eloquence, leadership, and civic virtue. Now we go to the medieval period. Education was mainly provided by religious institutions, and the focus was on theological studies and classical literature. Dominance was Roman Catholic. Excellence was often linked to religious devotion. It was linked to scholastic achievement and adherence to moral values in that period. We move to the Renaissance period. During the Renaissance period, interest in classical learning and humanism occurred during the Renaissance. Growth of the middle class was evident during that period. Excellence was conceived as a well-rounded education encompassing arts, sciences, and humanities. We go to the next phase, which is the phase of enlightenment, and the years I indicated there. Enlightenment thinkers emphasized reason, science, and individual rights. Excellence was associated with intellectual inquiry, critical thinking, and advancement of knowledge. We go further to the Industrial Revolution, which the majority of us have studied also in history. The focus shifted towards practical skills needed for the industrial workforce. That was what was key during the Industrial Revolution. Excellence during this era was often measured by vocational proficiency and productivity. We move to another era, that is the modern era, where the expansion of educational systems globally was observable with an emphasis on mass education. Even today, we celebrate mass education. The more, the better. The more, the merrier. Excellence began to be measured through standardized testing, academic achievement, and professional success. Further on, it was, during the 21st century, it was a shift towards a move of personalized and technologically driven education, where people had to be adaptive and creative and be critical thinkers in whatever they did, and there had to be global awareness. Now, we come to the contemporary era, that is the period in which you and I live. Issues such as access to quality education are key, the digital divide, and adapting to the changing job markets continue to be the key challenges. The debates when we meet with the university professors is that what you teach today in class, Professor Msoswi, may be irrelevant by the time that student completes his studies or her studies. You teach him this year, he's a first-year student, he still has 3 years at your university. By the time he finishes, what you taught him may be irrelevant at that time. The COVID pandemic, friends, accelerated the adoption of online and blended learning models. I'm going on. Right. Now, we are going to be looking quickly at the importance of education excellence in shaping the future. Why is it important for us to excel in education in order for us to shape the future? First of all is career opportunities. Career opportunities, it enhances an individual's competitiveness, which will make him employable in the world market. That is very important. Leadership development. Education excellence is associated with strong leadership skills, initiative, and ability to inspire and influence others. You can't lead anywhere if you can't inspire people to follow your dream. That has been said several times on this platform. Contribution to society. You don't learn only for your benefit. You learn in order to benefit society. Personal growth and lifelong learning. An example was made here of a teacher who qualified with a degree in 1976. And after getting that degree, he's been teaching since then up to now without improving his or her qualifications. Is that person still relevant with that BA that you got in 1976? No. Very important. It is very important for us as teachers to continue with personal development and lifelong learning. Very important also, it is the 21st century skills. That is critical thinking, problem solving, innovation and creativity, and global competitiveness. The children that you and I are teaching are not going to end in Namibia, in Eswatini, in Lesotho, or in South Africa. We live in a global village. They may end up in Canada and in any other country, the United States of America, and so forth and so on. What is key is that we have to prepare them to adapt to any environment where they could land with their qualifications. Right. We are going to look at drivers of excellence in education. Very important, when we teach learners in class, we have to establish high expectations. High expectations. We cannot be pushing mediocrity with our learners. We should push higher standards that are not easy to achieve. Schools should set and communicate high academic standards for all students. You set high standards and communicate them to all the students. You should create expectations, create a foundation for a culture of excellence. Give them what your expectations are as a teacher. That is very important. You should provide the students with a sense of purpose and direction. You should also motivate students to engage more and strive for their best. You must stretch them. They must be stretched. So that if the student is achieving at this level, it must be stretched to strive for something higher than what he can achieve. That is very important. And very important to do also is that we have to encourage the development of a growth mindset. Stagnation, friends, is not the way to go. Growth, progress is very important. Because once they stagnate, they may end up retrogressing, taking a step backwards in time. Meeting and surpassing high academic expectations prepare students to face the challenges of adulthood. Challenges of adulthood. You see, you and I as adults, we have to do certain things without getting any affirmation. What am I saying? I stop at the robot, at the traffic lights, for those who come from America. At the robot, I stop because the robot is red. It says stop. Not because there are people who are going to clap hands for me. There is no extrinsic motivation for me as an adult to raise up my children. It is my responsibility. Nobody is going to be giving me extrinsic motivation as an adult and clap hands that, well, you bought groceries this month. You paid for water and lights this month. It is something that has to be intrinsic. It doesn't have to come from outside because nobody is going to be clapping hands for me for doing those good things. A culture of high expectations is very important. It contributes to a positive school environment. High expectations must be communicated to the children. Both students and teachers should strive for excellence. You see at the bottom there, I've written, it's impossible. They must be able to go beyond the insurmountable. things that they say are impossible. Let's proceed, friends. Leadership and management. I'm speaking here to presidents of 2 universities. I'm speaking here to principals of schools. I'm speaking here to education directors. Now, I'm talking about leadership and management. Even in classroom practice, you must lead and manage. You must develop a clear and compelling vision. Clear. The vision must be clear and it must be appealing. It must be appealing. Ensure that the vision, goals, and expectations are effectively conveyed to all stakeholders. Stakeholders of the school, the learners, the teachers, the parent community. Foster an inclusive and transformative leadership style. Empower and involve various stakeholders in decision-making processes. I don't know about you. When I've written an assignment for my professor, when I'm studying, and I've written a very good assignment, I feel very proud about that. I own it. It is mine. It is mine. I look at it several times before I send it off to my professor. Same here. If you as a leader in your school, you are going to come and be dictatorial and just impose ideas on your teachers, on the learners, without them owning the process, you're going to be alone. Because if you involve them, they are going to be excited about the idea and they are going to help you carry the assignment. I don't know whether you understand what I mean. Otherwise, if you come without consulting anybody, that is going to be you alone who's going to be pursuing that dream. But if you have consulted and there is ownership, you're going to have a buy-in and you're going to have all the people pushing that agenda. What is important is that also when you take decisions, they must be data-driven, so that they must be research-based. They must not be a thumb suck. Whether you're talking about learner enrollment, whether you're talking about student achievement, you must be looking at the trends over the years. You must be looking at research-based evidence for you to give direction. It must not be a thumb suck. What is important also is that you have to actively work towards creating and maintaining a positive school culture. Positive school culture. That is inviting and not disinviting. Somebody here, one of the speakers, spoke about a situation where as you enter the school premises, the environment tells you that, no, this is not the place to be. This is not the place to be. But you go to another school, because of good leadership and management, once you enter the school premises, you say, this is the place to be. Because there is order, there is harmony, and there is learning taking place. Very important is that the school environment is dynamic. Therefore, it is very important for you to cultivate a culture of adaptability and flexibility. You're not going to be sticking to the strategies that worked 10 years ago. You have to be looking at how dynamic the society has become and include and inculcate the changes that have come in the society, into the society. Very important, as a teacher, as a leader, and as a manager, you're going to have to resolve conflict. You have to have conflict resolution skills. And you have to be able to manage crisis and handle unforeseen challenges like we faced COVID-19 about 2-3 years ago. You have to encourage reflective practices amongst leadership, promoting self-awareness. You know, I lead an organization, and in my own mind, I think I'm one of the nicest leaders. But when I sit with my staff, they cringe, you know? And I say, what is wrong with these people? I'm so nice. But fact of the matter is that I may not be self-aware, that I'm intimidating to them. So it is very important that you reflect, you are self-reflective so that you are self-aware. Ne? Self-awareness is very important. Why do they not want to visit my office to have tea with the CEO? It is because something is intimidating them that I do not realize as a leader. Same with you, with your children. You have to lead by example, friends. Modeling the behaviors and values, contributing to a culture of excellence. I cannot say people must come on time to my place of work when I arrive at 10 o'clock. When I leave any time during the day to go and play golf. But I expect everybody to be in class, to be teaching. You must lead by example. You cannot be expecting your people to be ethical when you yourself, as a leader, you are not ethical. Very important. What we need is supportive environment. We have to have a supportive environment to promote the well-being and reducing stress and anxiety among not only students, but among the teachers as well. Very important. Students are more likely to ask questions, seek help, and participate actively in class where there is support. Pastor Papu made an example here of a student who's creative, a student who asks a lot of questions, who is an irritation to the teacher. He is saying that child must not be an irritation to you. You must support that child to be creative and to think outside the box and to ask you difficult questions. So that if you create such an environment, children will grow in your hands. There should be strong connections between educators and students, which will create a foundation for an excellent learning environment. Diversity is very important. There is no way in which you'll find students who come from the same background, who have the same abilities, who bring to the classroom the same characteristics. So it is very important to be inclusive and to accommodate diversity in your classroom. And you have to provide flexible and dynamic learning environments, allowing for various teaching and learning styles, encouraging creativity and collaboration. I've seen teachers, because we say they must use technology in classrooms, using technology even when it is irrelevant to the lesson, just to satisfy that need that I've used technology. I've used this whiteboard that is being used, lately in our classrooms. Physical and emotional safety is paramount for effective learning. No one can learn in an environment where you don't feel emotionally and physically safe. What is key is that the policies of your institutions must be effectively disseminated and mediated. Disseminating them is not enough. You have to mediate them. You have to go in between and explain the policy positions of the school with clear communication that will help everybody to understand, and motivating everybody and mediating the policy so that everybody understands where you're going. Right. I think I've covered everything. Dissemination and mediation helps ensure educational institutions comply with legal requirements and regulations. But if you are just going to disseminate policies without mediating them, then they may be misunderstood and you may have unintended consequences. In crises like natural disasters, COVID-19 comes into our minds now, or public health emergencies, dissemination and mediation are crucial for rapidly communicating policy changes and ensuring a coordinated response by mediating the policy that has been disseminated. I'm going to talk quickly, as I'm trying to land, I'm trying to rush now, about quality curriculum. Quality curriculum is a foundational pillar for excellence in education. Align with educational standards and facilitate consistency and accountability in education. Now, you have to define clear learning objectives. It has to be very clear what the learning objectives are so that we know where we are going. Provide relevant and real-world application. Pastor Papu was excellent in giving us real-life experiences on this platform. When he gave us a situation, he was able to explain it clearly so that we're able to see it. Very important. A curriculum that accommodates diverse learning styles and abilities supports differentiated instruction. Friends, what is important for us to note is that as we sit here, we are gifted differently. We are gifted differently. Some people are gifted in written and oral, competencies. Some are gifted in figures and so forth and so on. And we take these children, we put them all in the same classroom, and we expect them to learn at the same pace. I got a challenge. I was speaking at one church during an education program. And somebody in the afternoon program, and you know what happens in the afternoon when you conduct a study. Somebody asked me, why do we channel students to do academics? And the answer is, schools of sports, schools of arts have been opened in our country at least. So that children who are gifted differently and who learn differently should be channeled to those institutions because people learn differently. I've spoken about incorporating technology differently, emphasizes the development of critical thinking skills and problem-solving abilities. This takes into account the diverse backgrounds and experiences of students. Curriculum emphasizes the development of essential lifelong learning skills. Friends, if you have completed your qualifications a long time ago and you are still standing in front of students teaching them, you better think again. You have to go improve your qualifications so as to keep pace with the modern developments in education. Quality assessment and feedback, and some of you will know that assessment is my area of specialization in my area of operation at the moment. Quality assessment provides valuable insights into the effectiveness of teaching and learning processes, allowing for continuous improvement. What I did as a teacher, and I did this religiously, is that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I'll teach. Friday I'll give classwork, to see whether my teaching from Monday to Thursday has been effective or not. So that on Monday the following week, after having marked during the weekend, I can close the gaps where the students appear to be lacking from my marking, so that you are able to improve them on a continuous basis. Implement quality assurance processes to ensure consistency and fairness in assessment across subjects, teachers, and schools. What we did also in my day as a teacher is that we had communities of practice. The teachers who taught English and history in my community at different schools, we formed subject committees where we would meet on a Wednesday afternoon to say, how do you approach this topic with your students? And an individual would come and share with us. The following week it would be somebody else. Communities of practice. What we should be doing with online being so much available is that we should create those communities of practice with colleagues who are in Lesotho, Eswatini, in Johannesburg, and so forth and so on. Define clear, measurable learning objectives while incorporating the variety of assessment methods. Not one assessment method is adequate. You have to engage various assessment methods. Regularly review and update assessment methods and material to reflect curriculum or educational goals, very important. Research and best practices in assessment. Very important to note the last point. I want to emphasize this one. And we should do this. If you give your students a test on Friday and you give them feedback on Monday, you don't know the joy that comes from those students as they receive feedback immediately. But if you are to give students a test now at the end of March and only give them feedback at the beginning of May, that is ineffective, friends. By the time they receive that feedback, the excitement is gone. They are no more excited about that product. Provide prompt assessment feedback to ensure students learn from their mistakes and improve. What is there to improve on after a month of getting the test feedback? One other thing that is key is teacher professional development. I'm about to land. Of ongoing professional development, that is very important. look at research-based best practices, look at communities of practice, I've spoken about them, look at mentorship programs for your schools, mentorship. And then one other thing that is key is parental involvement. Create opportunities for parents to volunteer in school activities. You know, there are parents who can teach mathematics better than us in our schools. You know, there are parents who can contribute this and that for our school. So parental involvement is very important so that they know what the needs of the school could be. Conduct workshops, information sessions for parents, establish parent advisory committees, and then also partnerships with different members of the community. That is very important. You'll read, I will make the slides available. Very important, the resources that you have out of the school fees and whatever you have at school will never be adequate unless you engage in some form of networks and partnerships. I'm running now. Leverage technology and make that technology relevant. Don't just infuse technology into your lessons without it being relevant. Do monitoring and evaluation. Implement effective system for assessing student progress and evaluating the effectiveness of teaching method. Use data-driven insights to identify areas of improvement and tailor interventions accordingly. Right, I'm about to land. Now, these are the examples of contemporary challenges impacting excellence in education. Challenges that we're facing. One, it is epistemic access, inadequacy of resources for us to access information. And then digital divide. I'm talking here about the urban and rural and access to internet and so forth and so on. This leads to inequalities in educational outcomes. Adapt to the changing job market. I was talking to the lecturers at TVET colleges in the education system to say, if you're still teaching children about a carburetor, when we no more have cars with carburetors, you know, with a feeler gauge that my father used to use. I see people who are smiling, belong to my generation, a feeler gauge. If you are still teaching those things, you should know that you are outdated because we have had fuel injectors for a very long time. Fuel injectors are about to be out because we are talking about hybrid cars, we are talking about electric cars. So you have to adapt to the changing environment. Look at the learning losses. We talked about learning losses during COVID. Financial constraints, we all know what this is about. Mental health and well-being, that is what is very important. Embarking on educational odyssey where the quest for excellence unveils is great. Requires navigating challenges, fostering equity, and building a foundation of educational excellence. This requires bridging gaps, inspiring minds, and shaping the futures. And it requires a concerted effort from policymakers, educators, and communities. Friends, excellence in education, final slide, has very high expectations. It talks to continuous improvement. It talks to persistence. I was telling my kids, because I've just acquired a qualification last year, I graduated with an LLB degree. It was not easy. It was not easy. And one of my kids would come into my study and say, Papa, but you have a PhD and you are a CEO. Why are you torturing yourself like this? I said, boy, it is persistence that I'm doing. It is lifelong learning. And if I were to drop that course, what would I be saying to my kids? If they failed at school, they would say, Papa, that LLB also showed you flames, you know? So it means continuous improvement, it means performance, motivation, quality assurance, determination, discipline. Discipline. What I did in my busy schedule is that I dedicated 2 hours per day, consistently. Some days I would fail. Some days that 2 hours would be 4 hours. Miraculously, I would find myself studying into the night. Ultimately, I've completed a degree at my age. You have to manage risks. You have to have the right attitude. You have to work hard. And you have to collaborate. You can't study alone. You have to form partnerships. I thank you for listening to me. Thank you very much, friends.